Hello. Testing, testing. Alright, looks like it works. I wonder how sensitive this is. I don't know if you guys can hear me. It should be okay. Let's see if I can switch the headset. Okay, how about this? Testing, testing. Hello. Okay. It's probably better. Stream health, okay. Alright, I want to see how this works. So that's my first time streaming here. Let's see, where are we? Do I show? Okay, I do show up live. Okay. Currently testing the audio right now. Yeah, okay, looks like the latency is a couple of seconds here. And there's some settings I have to switch. Something about how we're using 2000 kps. I don't know what that is. Let's see. Stream's current bit is lower than recommended. Recommended that you use stream bit rates of 6000. How do I fix that? It's a good question. It says we have a good connection going. I don't support closed captions. Where can I see the live chat here? Alright, so I have my phone popped up here and I just want to see exactly how everything's being streamed at the moment. So it looks like you can see Unity. I think that's good news. It sounds like you can also hear my voice here. And I just want to see like if I play, does my computer crash, right? Because like, not saying that Unity is heavy, but okay, there is some low-key performance issues whenever I go for an actual play here. It's not like that bad, but it's also the fact that I have Fruity Loops in the background as well, and you can see this little red line on the top. That's basically saying like, hey, we're taking a lot of memory on the computer. You should probably like stop doing that. What I could do is I could turn off the yeah Fruity Loops is just absolutely eating everything right now. What I could do is just pull up the private playlist for another chance. Let me see if I still have it here. Okay, we have the private list here. Yeah, the game performs way better now, so I'm gonna check audio in a sec. Yeah, okay, so audio is it's kind of lowered. Where's sound effects coming from? Hold on, this is from the headset. Okay, no, I want default. Okay, this shouldn't be that bearing. I'm still gonna kind of like lower the volume here. Okay, how about now? Yeah, okay, so it looks like we have a volume for the music that's very doable here. You can just kind of loop this in the background, and then I just keep with the stream. It seems like it's working. All right, cool. Now we got to keep on checking on performance. Okay, I do note that there's like a performance change here, but it's okay. We can just want to see how it actually looks like when we run everything here. Also, I guess I would maximize, right? Because that's probably what takes the most memory here. Major spoilers here, right? Because these are all the characters I have planned out right now. They're a derivation from the original game here, so let me try to hide that. So I want to check something. Is there a way to trim this? Let's find out. Let's see if there's a way to trim. Yeah, so if I can trim that, then I can kind of hide like the application bars on the bottom because they're a little bit distracting. Let me see. It would be really hype if I found out where the trim button is. That would be really cool, right? Just export another image that's just an empty rectangle. Here, transform. That's fine. I guess we'll just leave it like that. So yeah, this is the main menu character screen that we have. Actually, let's take this from the start, right? So, all right, cool. Basically, this is DodgeKing Deluxe. This is the game that I'm currently making. It is a derivation of the game that I currently have called Dodge King, right? So, as you can see here, Dodge King is it's a game I made like a year and a half ago. Oh, looks like we have someone else in the chat. Hey, say hi whenever you can. Just wanna see if everything's working here. But yeah, basically, I made Dodge King, and it's a grid-based. What do you call it? An action-roguelike grid-based movement game. Think about Megaman Battle Network, but you're literally just like dodging instead of like fighting. So you have like this clip that demonstrates that, I guess, like perfectly, if that makes sense. And yeah, like I think it was a fun project. I thought it was like a great learning experience, and having a game out is like a really cool thing. I guess it's been a great opportunity to like leverage programming skills and whatever. But what I recognize is that this game isn't necessarily designed that well. And what I mean by that is it's very challenging. It's a little hectic, and yeah, it's just like it's one of those things where it's like it could have been done completely better. There's like a billion ways to improve this, right? Like look at the visuals for a second, right? Like there's a bunch of colors, a lot of UI elements that don't necessarily make sense. So my goal as a developer is to make a game just like this, Dodge King 2, basically the sequel. But we make sure that it has all the cool things that actually makes a game like really fun and replayable, and just a better game, right? But one that actually matters, one that isn't like, oh, here's like a quick experiment. No, like I want people to play this game, right? So yeah, you have some clips, you have gifs of like how the game ideally looks like and everything, and also I like barely marketed this game. I mean, I would like to say I did market the game, but like I was a noob. I didn't do too much of it, so I just kind of just did a lot of Twitter posts, some Reddit posts, and then a couple of festival invites. Two of them being rewarded here, one for the DreamHack and one for the Latin American Game Showcase. So I thought that was really cool, right? But games are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be talked about. They're supposed to be replayable, and that's kind of what we have to do today. So here I have the prototype, right? Or at least we're trying to make the prototype of Dodge King Deluxe, right? So we have the actual menu opening sequence that we can show off later, but here's how the game actually looks like right now. So we're having this 2.5D kind of view of it, right? And it might be lagging just a bit just because stream stuff, but yeah. The idea is you have this like Paper Mario like view where you have a 2D character, you have a 3D environment, and basically every time you jump, you have like an invincibility frame, and yeah, you're literally just playing the game where you just dodge. It's gonna be the same thing. You're just dodging bullets, lasers, projectiles, bombs, obstacles, everything that you can think of when it comes to like, hey, I gotta like not get hit by this, right? There will be some new mechanics. So in the what do you call it? In the first version, you did not have a dash button, but here you have a dedicated little dash movement. And what that does is if you bump into an enemy, it changes perspectives, right? So then here it becomes a little bit more of a like a close combat type of thing where it's like, hey, I gotta watch out. I gotta really pay attention to what's in front of me. And then if you bash into them again, then you just kind of go back to this overworld state, and that's pretty much what we have gameplay wise. It's really really bare bones, right? And I was thinking, hey, this would be such a cool opportunity to just kind of show off like how the game is made, code, kind of like document everything else, because we have a basic animated character, a 3D space, some basic movement logic and everything. So we're kind of really at the beginning of the prototype. And if we can make like a really good prototype that's fun without having like the cool visuals and everything, then we basically have like a good replayable game. And yeah, so I was thinking like, hey, it would be really hype if I documented it, right? You can see that I'm streaming, and and yeah, like I guess like it would be also pretty cool if like chat probably said like, hey, like maybe you should add this, or hey, what does this do? So I don't know. I want to make it a little bit chill. I'm trying to be very consistent in like continuing my progress and making the game and such. But I believe if I kind of like force myself to just stream the process, um, maybe there's like a level of engagement that I can kind of reach with you guys to see, hey, like maybe there's something you want to see, maybe there's some expectations that you have, and yeah, I mean, how cool would it be if we made a game together and just try to see what works, what doesn't, right? So yeah, this is the bare minimum right now. But then we also have, what do you call it, the menu, right? So this menu I made like a long time ago, so it's kind of like outdated. But I do think that the menu solved a lot of issues with like the colors and such. Um, so yeah, let's go ahead and just quickly play that menu here. You have the little safety warning because, seizures, right? And yeah, this is like a little experiment here because like the background has like a scrolling texture. I didn't really do that before in the original game. Actually, if you look at the Steam page here, um, every background that you see, this is so funny. Like the actual background in the game is like assets that keep repeating. So I made the game very heavy on the art style, and I could have used a scrolling texture, right? So this is like me saying, oh, I have a scrolling texture effect in the background. Obviously, we can change that. I was thinking more of something like Colosseums and kind of like a white space to represent like royalty and medievalness. But yeah, we have a bare minimum, like it reacts to the mouse. So it's like, hey, we have settings, we got window mode, full screen, we got the volume. We also got controllers, right? So like if you had this is still to be implemented. Like I'd like to have a lot of accessible options for players to play with the mouse or literally like whatever you guys want, right? So if you got controller suggestions, feel free to let me know because I would like to implement that. I added languages, right? So like we can play the game in Spanish. Uh, this is so racist. I'm sorry, bro. Like we're not supposed to. Uh, like actually that's another thing. So like localization would be cool because then I could just have like a bunch of text messages everywhere, right? You have the default settings to kind of just like reset where we were. And actually, on the running version, the windowed mode does make it windowed, but it's like really, it's not flexible, right? So that's something I got to work on here. And let's put this down a bit. So about the settings, collection, it's not available right now, but it's gonna be like, hey, all the upgrades, all the characters, everything that you unlocked, basically, you can review it, and you can even get to the point where you can kind of like build your run. So I'll get to that in a second, right? But like you want to start the game and you want to take your character, take your upgrades, uh, pick a game mode, and then start the actual game. Collections is just there to have that menu where you see everything, and then exit to turn off the game, exit. You have these three buttons. They're empty right now, but they're basically like marketing options. So like if you click this one here, it'll open a link and it'll ask you to be like, hey, you should join the newsletter. And I heard from a marketing perspective, right, that newsletters are really good because I basically get your email and then I can email you like actual updates and like sneak peeks and such. Um, but then also, what do you call it? In this button here should be, if I'm not mistaken, my website. Uh, we'll find out once it loads, right? Because this is a heavy website. I really got to compress it. There's definitely been a lot of yeah, like it's super slow. So the point is, in this website, you can see the other projects and like things I've been working on. Um, this is like a whole big project that I'll talk about later. But you have DodgeKing, you have another chance, you have this whole menu option or whatever. But one thing that I worked on was actually a book, right? So it's like, hey, I have like the first chapter of this web comic, and I have like an actual book. So it's like, hey, if you give me your email, I can give you this entire book for free. Um, it's just like for lore things, right? So like, because DodgeKing will eventually kind of connect the lore or like some little missing pieces of this overarching story, but we'll get to that later because we want to be more practical. We just kind of want to make a game first and then worry about the story a little bit later. Um, and actually, my friend suggested, hey, why doesn't DodgeKing have like a campaign mode? I mean, I think that'd be hype, right? But I don't know. Like I said, I kind of want to focus on the gameplay stuff first, right? But we have some music. In fact, the background music, I was gonna stream it here, but I mean, you can kind of listen to what's going on here. So yeah, we have a lot of music, right? And hopefully that streams in the background without being, too bad here. Press kits just to oh, you're not supposed to see that. Press kits just to kind of be like, hey, this is how the game looks like. If you guys want to talk about it, you can definitely download that pack. Um, yeah, and then in the middle button we have, I think it's Twitter, just like my socials, somewhere where you can formally follow me and upload, see all the updates and such. Pretty sure my friend just sent me a meme. Yep, that's definitely a meme. I'll take a look into that later. Uh, yeah, so that's like the menu, right? And then when we start, this is where we choose our character. There's some music associated with that, so let's kind of see if I can bring it up here. So yeah, the idea is you choose a game mode first, then a character, and then upgrades, and then you can get ready, right? Again, minor spoilers, right? I mean, if I'm gonna document how the game is gonna be made, I'm assuming there's gonna be like a bunch of spoilers. I'll definitely reveal, right? But the idea is you choose a character, and they have a specific ability, right? So, for example, All Night, no ability, nothing, just just your bread and butter. Like, hey, I'm just here to dodge, right? Then we have a character like Prankster, right, who specializes in collecting more gems and upgrades more frequently. So it's like, okay, if you want to play a game mode where you want to focus on collecting things, you get this guy. Or let's say you want to go hyper offensive, right? Then we have this character called Maisane that basically does like double the damage for every time they attack. Mirror is going to be a character that every single attack that they do has this area of effect, this like AoE basically, right? Um, Not that it makes the game easier, but definitely like there's gonna be a lot of cool things you can do with AoE attacks. You have Magic Man who deals and receives random amounts of damage. So this is truly like luck based. Hey, are you gonna survive this hit? Are you gonna heal? Well, this is like if gambling was a character. Lulora is going to be a flower girl that has an umbrella, right? And that umbrella, every time you use it, it has the ability to deflect projectiles. So I thought that would be like a really cool like idea to say, hey, you can dodge, but what if you want to focus a little bit more on parrying? Well, you get a reward for parrying here because you're deflecting stuff. Uh, Rockman, who clearly is not inspired from a particular Japanese shooting star character like Blue Bomber thing, right? Basically, it's like he's a shooter, so he kind of has like access to projectiles himself. But each projectile goes through other projectiles. So it's like think about lasers. Think about. I mean, this can be optimized. I'm not too sure, right? So you guys let me know if Crystal Light should be a different ability. But it's like, hey, I can shoot things and go through those bullets, right? Then we have Ophelia, who basically is like um, a very important character, right? And the ability has a mind of its own. So you basically are gonna get like as you play as Ophelia, you basically like she will attack automatically or dodge automatically. Like she kind of literally has her own mind. You're gonna be controlling her, right? But there's gonna be certain actions that she'll take care of so that you, the player, don't have to worry. So this is kind of like the game on easy mode, but she will have exclusive levels to go through because those levels are gonna be very, very challenging. And then these last two characters they're like secret characters, but I mean, since we're here, right? Volt is going to have the ability Another Chance. And this is the main character from my other game that I'm currently making, actually. And the cool thing about this is he's going to play as if he were in Another Chance, meaning the controllers that you would typically play with all these other characters are like out the window. This is like you now are twin stick shooter. You have like a bunch of other things to worry about. So yeah, programming this guy is going to be very interesting because either I directly import him from one game to another, or I simply make like a simplified version of it. But we're going to have that accessibility here, or at least that's the plan. And then we have Zyra, who is another important character from the other game as well. But the idea here is if you do a lot of dodging, she has this ability called Camouflage, where after like a streak, you get invincibility. So for a little bit, right? So this is going to be like a really interesting way to force you to kind of like be like a good dodger. And these last three characters are also gonna have like exclusive levels just because they're kind of like very very relevant to the lore, which is funny because I was talking about hey, in Another Chance in the website, the book that I talk about, they do appear in the book, right? So Volt is a main character in the book. Zyra is also a huge role, Ophelia as well. But again, they also appear in Another Chance, which is the other game that I'm also making. We can talk more about that later. And yeah, that's basically like the menu, right? So let's say I choose All Night, I say ready, boom, we drop in the game. And yeah, right now again, prototype stuff, so we're just kind of like here. Um, yeah, there's even music in the background again, so I gotta turn that up. So yeah, this is technically what we have right now, right? We have all these assets, all these folders, and I've been trying to organize them, but honestly, after I added the import folder, this is basically like all the menu stuff that came from the other game. Um, it's really messed up a little bit of the organization process, but it's not a big deal, you know. It's something that we end up learning and trying. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're gonna be working on. So I don't know if I should make this like an introductory stream or if I should just like do something basic. It's 9:35 p.m. in Puerto Rico, so I don't know. I've been hyper tired. I've been personally like really busy at work, and like yesterday I came back from like a concert. I'm tired, y'all. So I don't even know how long this is gonna be. But yeah, this is what we're working on. So let me at least take a look into some code here for a second, because one thing that I wanted to do is work on this piece of code, right? Where we have this enemy, this one right here, right? And he's gonna start shooting the actual projectiles that you have to dodge through and everything. So I'm debating: do I work on the projectile that gives you the dodge points? Do I work on the dodge system, all of that, or do I have a bare bones? Hey, this is just a bullet and move on, right? Now, what I was thinking is the first thing I should do is, if I'm gonna work on projectiles, I want to have this system. Excuse me, this system called object pooling, right? And what object pooling does is it basically says I have one object, like one, one little this dude, and every time it is used, we basically disable it. And then whenever we need to use another bullet from another enemy, then we would use the exact same bullet again, and then just kind of like recycle this object as many times as possible. And the reason why we want to do that is because that saves the game a lot of memory. Um, since this game is gonna have like a bunch of bullets everywhere, right? If I had like 50 of these being spawned from scratch, that's asking a lot from your computer, right? And you don't want to do that. So if I just recycle the same one over and over and over and over, then we're set. And I have a script that does that in this other project. Which, by the way, like this my debug project. This is kind of like, hey, this is where I test the other things, right? And I guess what was happening is I was working on the object pooling stuff on the other game here, and something happened where there's like a bug. I couldn't fix it, so I was thinking, hey, what if I import that here and then try to figure out that bug, and then I could update the stream to this, where it says current objective, boom, code, right? So then maybe I can be like, hey, we're gonna start coding here, right? So yeah, I mean, I guess we can do that, and then maybe I can show you how sloppy my code is. Uh, but let me even see if this, it still works, right? Because then the crazy part about this is, what do you call it? The should be this one. This is the other game, right? So maybe I can showcase that just a little bit here. It's gonna be a little sloppy. Yeah, it's loading right now. So the other game, another chance, the other one that I mentioned and everything. Twin, what do you call it? It's a twin stick, bullet hell grid game. Again, it's Mega Man Battle Network with four directions basically. That's how I like to describe it, if that makes sense. Um, so here, like I'll do like a quick demonstration, and then maybe you guys can see like the nature of it. And actually, we're playing as a as our knight again. Um, yeah, sometimes he has outlines, sometimes he doesn't. Whatever. But yeah, so basically, you have like this free roam area, and then if you see an enemy, you can encounter them, and then you start battling. Um, Here, you're free roam, so there's no real grids to worry about. But when you crash into your enemy, you kind of, oh, hold on. Yeah, so now you're entering in this like grid area, right? And this is what I call the twin stick shooter combat. So you can move up, down, left, right in a grid, and based on the other stick, or your arrow keys, that's where you can start shooting. Um, but yeah, object pooling, what it means is the little bullet that I'm shooting, that's like the exact same bullet that is being used over and over and over. There's probably like 10 that exist in the entire like game. So if I had like more than 10 bullets, then some of them would disappear and just respawn. That's the whole concept that we want to do for our first like step of order. And the problem is, again, if I were to shoot like this all day, and if I didn't have an object pooling, the game would crash because you're just adding memory after memory after memory until your computer literally can't spawn anything. So your computer is going to say, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to crash the computer, the program, to relieve myself, basically, right? And yeah, so like here's the shield button. We have the ability to grab cards. For example, this is the sword attack, right? So if I grab the sword attack, and then if I get nearby, I can just attack. If I don't have the sword attack, but I want to do a normal attack, I do like a bigger bullet. So mini bullets, big bullet. So here's a parachute, right? Oh, I think I dropped it. So if I go, oh no, that's a glitch. I gotta find that. So okay, zap, right? I can do that little zap. I can grab the spear, sword, parachute. I can shield. And then yeah, you can kind of like paralyze. You can counter. If you time your attack just right before they attack you, you can parry them. So let me see if I can do that because this character is a little tricky for that, right? This game is way smoother to play on a controller. I'm using the keyboards right now, and like I'm probably gonna get arthritis if I keep doing this. But whatever. So I'm burnt right now, which means I'm getting passive damage, and that's bad. Let me see if I can paralyze here. Yeah, I got countered, and I'm stuck. Okay. So phase 2 is like she's faster and everything, so she's weak to the sword attack. I'm getting countered. I'm not good at this game, am I? Okay. I'm just getting comboed. Okay, that's terrible. There are healing cards that you can use. I just haven't enabled them, so kind of in trouble. I got countered. And I got killed. Okay, cool. Totally not embarrassing. Then you get the game over screen, right? So it looks something like this. You get a little dialogue box that says, "Hey, you know, you kind of messed up, bro. You wanna redo that?" And it's like, yeah, I probably do want to redo that, right? So then you can just press the retry button, and then it reboots the program. Well, funny, in the context of the game, it's like, oh, you're playing a program, right? But it is a program in the real world, right? But it's a game, right? And you just respawn, and then you can try it again. So that's battle number 1 for this one. But then battle number 2 is hilarious because okay, so remember how I said I was a huge Mega Man Battle Network fan? Well, kind of lied to you guys. I'm like a freak for Starforce, all right, and I'm not embarrassed to say that. So I added this concept of this. I'm so gonna get copyrighted, bro. Anyway, I gotta remove this in the official game because obviously that's not allowed. But I basically made Starforce Mega Man as a boss just to prove, just to kind of see like, hey, like how does the game feel and look like when you comparatively build it, right? Because like if this game is based off of Battle Network and then I have a character directly from Battle Network, or at least Starforce, and if it plays and feels the way that it does from the original, then I think I did a good job, right? um but yeah, this is like a Kaizo boss. Like he's gonna go absolutely crazy, and he also has like Ophelia, Volt. We're probably lagging like crazy because there's like a bunch of things going on. Yeah, this is just concept of like, hey, what happens if I have multiple bosses, if I have characters from other games. Yeah, and they're all fully animated and programmed, which is kind of funny. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of hilarious here. And yeah, there's a glitch where Megaman's trying to heal, but he just hits himself instead. So yeah, that's basically this project, right? I can be here all day, but the idea is we want to get the look. We had a bug here. We want to grab the script that's responsible for the object pooling, right? We want to kind of like take those classes and everything and then put in here. And then once we do that, we basically have the ability to start testing how the projectiles would work, right? And if we do that, that just means, hey, awesome, cool. We can actually like start making the basics of the game and then just essentially run into the first thing for the prototype, right? So how I would do that is first of all switch from chat mode to code mode, because here we go, right? And then, excuse me, Unity has a search bar, right? And I'm trying to like label everything as appropriately as possible, right? So I literally typed object pooling, and cool, I have a couple of object pooling stuff, right? So in this folder, I have a object pooling folder. So there's a code for object pool, and then I have iPool, special effects pooling, weapons pooling. So to make sure I'm picking the right one, I just want to open object pool, and then we get this screen, and it's like, hey, you're in VS Code now. You can just kind of like do what you got to do. So I coded this a long time ago. So for me to like reread it is kind of, you know, I'm trying to remember how it is, right? But let me see if I can zoom in here, and you can see my code. So yeah, feel free to judge how sloppy my code is because I know for a fact that um, I don't really take account into a lot of things when it comes to efficiency. I just kind of say, hey, if it works, it works, and that's kind of like the whole concept of how DodgeKing happened, right? I was like, hey, this works, this does what I have to do, so if it works, I don't need to touch it. However, the problem with sloppy code and the reason why it's so important to really like verify if you're coding things correctly is because if you what do you call it? If you do it inefficiently, you're basically adding again like more memory, more RAM onto your computer. You're doing things that are not healthy for playing the game long term. And that causes performance issues, that causes crashes, not necessarily glitches, but there are rare events where performance leaps into glitches. So you don't want to like go out of bounds simply because there was a frame that wasn't read properly, right? Um, like it's something you really got to pay attention to, right? So here, this code, first of all of this is commented, and I remember saying I need this, so I would have just deleted it by now, but I need this, so we're gonna leave it there. So how if I can read this correctly, right? We have okay, let's take a step back, right? Okay, cool. So we have public static object pool, known as object pool, and then we say object pool is this on awake. This entire block here literally just says, hey, there's going to be one script in the entire game called object pool, and as soon as the game starts, and if the script is attached in the game, which is a process that you do by literally adding scripts onto objects here, which I'll show later. Um, cool, object pool exists, and this is what it is. So every single time you reference, you talk, you use, you communicate with object pool, it's talking to this exact script that we're dealing with, right? So here we have game objects prefab. So basically, this is an array. Arrays are basically like a list of things that I want to do. So I have a list of prefabs, and that basically means, hey, I am going to go have a list of objects that I want to pool. In this case, this is going to be the bullets, right? So like if I had 50 bullets, then I'm going to have 50 arrays, and they're all going to generate the bullets. And here's a list called pool. This is used for the pooling logic that we'll get to. Initial pool size, like how big do you want your pool to be? What is the maximum? How often do you want it to spawn? These are variables that we're going to end up using later. And then basically we have the start function, right? So what is start? Like this is the first frame, we just started the game, what happened? Okay, so for every uh for every or in this case we're gonna make a for loop that basically says, hey, we're gonna make a prefab object. It says here random amount. I don't remember why this is random. Instantaneate. So I have to read this again a little bit carefully, right? Because this means that we are defining a game object called prefab, which is from the prefab array. It says here spawns random amount of objects with start off. But I genuinely, I genuinely don't know or remember what this does. I'll look into that later. But here, okay, cool. So what this is that this is a little object called object, instantaneate prefab, and then set it to false. What this basically means is, hey, when the game starts, spawn the objects, disable it, and then add it to the pool. And when you do all of that, you have all the objects that you need. So how that looks like here is if we go to this system called object pooling, weapon specific. It's probably this one here. Yeah. So there's this script here. It probably looks super small on the screen, so I have to like kind of readjust it. Is it possible for me to like make this bigger? Probably. Let me see real quick, right? So here, maybe it's viewable. It would be super high. Yeah. Okay. So it's sort of weird, right? But basically, it's like, hey, I have a. Actually, no, I'm gonna be going way too ahead of myself because this is the premise of it, but there's just way too many more components. Um, I feel like low key, I'm a professor now, just trying to teach basic code, but even I don't know what's going on. So shout out to the professor that that said, hey, I don't know what I'm coding. And it's like, hey, professor, are you a coder? He goes, no, I'm actually sneaking in. Anyway, whatever. Point is, you make a pool. Inside the pool, you put objects, and then from that pool, that's where all the bullets are gonna come by, right? We have this function called getObject. This is basically like a way to organize, okay, what object is it called, how many items are there, and that's what you're seeing here. So for example, I have this thing called I have this weapon variation of it where it's called weapon object pooling. We have I call it the attack pool. We have the weapons, the neutrals, the exclusives. So in weapon you have the tag, the actual object, the size of the pool. Um, all those settings are basically done through here. And yeah, I'm just gonna kind of briefly go through this because what this script does is it just takes care of, okay, you started the object pool, this is what you need. So cool, I found what I need. This is the first one, right? But remember, this is a system, right? Which means there has to be another script involved. So we have object pool, but in object pooling, we also have the what's called the iPooled object. And this, I'm gonna be straight up. I don't even know what this is. It says here, code allows all object pooling systems to be reusable. Okay, yeah. So okay, cool. This means that this is the one script that gets called, and then when it's called, it does something to another script. And if I'm not mistaken, it would be maybe okay. This is an example. This is called the weapons object pooling. So it's like it's its own object pooling system, identical to this one, but it just focuses on the weapon class. So literally, like you see the same thing here, right? Like it's like a for loop. I mean, not identical, right? But it's like you have the okay, let's say it's identical, right? Because who knows? But the whole point is that all look here it uses the I pooled objects, right? And the whole reason why we're doing that is simply because you use object pools to communicate to I pool to communicate to the specific pool that you want to make. So weapons object pooling would be like where the projectiles go in. And let's say I wanted to make like an upgrade or gems or something that isn't weapon based. I would literally copy and paste this entire script and then just literally name it gems pool object or money pool object or character pool object, because that's what you're doing. You're just grabbing the script and specifying exactly what you want. So that's kind of like what this does. And I do have to read it because I'm skimming through this now for like demonstration purposes, but I gotta refresh myself on how this is done because if we're gonna import it here and if we want to make sure that the game is clean and doesn't have like a bajillion, you know, issues, then yeah, we wanna we wanna make sure we know what we're doing, right? So yeah, I'll look into this a little bit more. But then yeah, so that would be what we're looking for. Let's see what else. So basically, yeah, that's the object pooling system that we want to make here. Um, we got the camera, we got the light. I guess like something super basic as well that we can also work on maybe later, right? But in our game, uh, when you play it, right? And let me briefly show this off here. If you notice, when I'm on this perspective where like I'm looking forward, my character, we can see my character's back, and then he has this like third person view of like the world, right? Which is cool. And then, like I said, when you bash into characters, you have this 2D perspective mode. Now it's a bullet hell. Now you're more focused on like dodging and everything. But here's the problem: when you dash into the enemy, you get back to the 3D perspective mode. But I'm like Paper Mario. You know what I mean? Like I'm not rotating the way that I should, right? And what's interesting about that is I have a script that takes care of the rotation part, right? So it's called I called it the billboard. Hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, it's called the billboard effect, which means every time you are looking at a direction, you turn it on. Hold on, you turn it on. I'm turning on the wrong one. Uh, where is he? Hold on. Bullet, bullet. This one. So I can turn it on, and then like, hey, he's always gonna be aligned to where the camera is looking. The problem is like if you notice when I go like really far left or really far right, he kind of does like this rotation thing. Like it's okay, right? The problem is like it has that little fish eye perspective, and if you notice, like it really stops the alignment of the grid. Because here, like I'm kind of in the middle of the grid. I'm leaning more to the left here. If I jump on this one, like he's kind of like rotating to the point where it's like yes, he's still in frame, but he's not directly rotating the way that he has to, right? If anything, he should be looking kind of like this. Let me, yeah, like he should definitely be looking something like that. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I can also make him bigger just to demonstrate this point. Um, Yeah, we always want to make him do this, right? But when I put the billboard, it's like, he kind of like rotates a little awkwardly, and that's because of how the camera is structured, because the camera's like over his head. So that's something that I gotta fix. I gotta find out, how do I make a billboard that is faithful to the direction that I gotta look at, but also doesn't, really screw around with that extra rotation of like, hey, I'm kind of like really papery, right? Like, look at that. If I go all the way here, like it's a little bit of a mess. So that's something I can do. And it's funny because the billboard is like the code for it, literally one line of code. All right, it's late update, which means every frame. Actually, let me see if I can just quickly show. Yeah, so excuse me, late update, which means like every frame, at the end of the frame, we're gonna do this, right? And what are we gonna do? Well, the object that this is attached to. So as you can see, this script billboard, it's like right here. This is attached to what's called third POV, and this object is literally our little character that's flashing in and out, right? So it's like, hey, this guy's online, he's offline, online, right? Online, right? So if this is online, we're gonna transform dot look at camera main transform. What that translates to is this object is going to directly face the camera the entire time it's on. So every time we're active, every time frames pass by, when we play the game, that's literally what it does. It just says, hey, we're just going to look at it. The consequence to that is, as you see, um, in the rotation, we have like negative 25 degrees, y equals 0. If I do y equals, like if I'm playing with the y, I do like this rotation thing. If I play with the z, I start spinning around like this, right? So consequence of turning on the billboard effect is that you get what you want, but then when you slightly go left, when you slightly go right, you have that little curvature. So I don't know how to do polls in chat, but I think it'd be really hype if I could like get somebody's opinion on like, hey, does it make sense if I made it like lean like that, or should I keep it faithful? Because it might look a little laggy right now on the stream, but that fisheye thing is kind of weird. Let me see if I can kind of just like do something here. So it's like, okay, chat poll, uh, press 1 for fisheye view, and then 2 for what do you call it? For faithful, faithful 2D look, right? And it's funny because again, I don't know if it's streaming correctly because like it's a little bit laggy, but the long story short is when billboard is on, you have this effect. Hold on. Yeah, you have like this leaning effect where he's like, hey, I'm still looking at the camera, but I'm like leaning, bro. And it's like, do I really want that? It's kind of disturbing. It's like, hold on. Also, I gotta get used to the orientations here. But it's like, let's say I'm moving left or right, I do this, but then when I stay still, I'm doing that. I don't know. So that's something I gotta look into. Uh, all right. So Marcel said the faithful 2D look. I absolutely agree. That's my whole argument here because we want to make things as consistent as possible, right? And then I'm gonna go with Marcel. I think I don't know who this Marcel guy is, right? I don't know. Maybe he's someone that I faithfully know. Maybe he's just a stranger in the stream. What's up, Marcel? So anyway, yeah, but definitely that's what I'm looking at, right? So that's kind of the first step, the object pooling, and then we have the billboard stuff that we have to work on. So there's that. Besides those two quick objectives, I think the other thing that we would have to work on are kind of like the canvas options, right? So I kind of showed off the menu here, but one of the biggest issues that I have right now is it doesn't respect the ratio of your screen. So if you're like on a smaller laptop or on like a big TV, you're kind of forced to just use the what do you call it? The 1920 times 1080 ratio. So let me show that real quick. If I'm at the desired ratio, right, the full HD one, you get this effect. But let's say, oh, let me use my 4320p FU HD. Like if you're rich, bro, go for it, right? But then boom, bro, imagine spending thousands of dollars on your TV and monitor just to play that. Like what is this? Like what am I looking at, bro? What is that? So like I got to think about those people. But then let's say, hey guys, I'm running the game on an Android on a 720p on YouTube with the potato service. Well, you get this, man, and it's like that's not ideal. You know what I mean? So you play the traditional way, and you're fine. But it's like, how does that even happen, right? Like I don't even remember how I programmed that. So what's interesting is that in the menu stuff, and I remember getting yelled at by my coworkers by this. Like I love everyone that I used to work with, and they always told me, "Hey, you gotta watch out for how you use the canvases." And I was being so careful with that, but I know for a fact I messed that up, bro. And that's where I messed up because here we're on screen overlay, and ideally that's how it should work, right? But if I do world space, that really depends on where the canvas is located. See, this is like me zoning in and out with the Z position. That doesn't work out. But if I go back to screen overlay, we're kind of good. And the idea of screen overlays, it's that like whatever screen you're on, it's always going to focus on the camera that you have. Do I have a no, sorry, that's world space. So world space would use the camera. So let's say you attach this camera here, and boom, nothing happens. So a little rough, you know what I mean? So I got to figure that out too. And let's see what else we have here. So yeah, that's kind of just the main objectives that I have to focus on here. And okay, so I guess I'll just start porting the object pooling things, right? So how do I do that? I would go to assets, right? I have a lot of folders here. I don't know if you can possibly see it, but yeah, actually there should be a way to zoom this in. I gotta find a way to like make the stream so it's like I can zoom into things way quicker. So let's say here, maybe you can see the folders now. It's probably like super tiny. Yeah, like you can barely see it, but there's like these folders here. Um, so I'm just revert to what we had here, and we're gonna do some coding. I said code. Okay, cool. So yeah, we have these folders, right? And it's like, hey, we have the DodgeKing folder, the import folder, plugins, projectile scenes, whatever. In the folders, we have these things where we're just organizing things. We have the camera, general stuff, controllers, OST, which is funny because we actually have 3 official soundtracks ready. I don't know if they play automatically. Yeah, so that's the main menu. It's character select, and then we have the first level. And that's also another thing, right? So like we're talking about programming and everything, right? But then we also have the visual and the audio aspect. And I genuinely think music is super underrated and everything. But here, let me see if I have like this is the folder. Yeah, this one folder here, this is all of the tracks that I have ready for the game. So we literally have the character select, we have tutorial mode, victory themes, all the main levels, so level 0 through level 6, a secret level, and then the final boss theme, a boss theme. Like we have a lot of things going on, right? So for example, let me pull up hey guys, you want to listen to the final boss theme real quick? I mean, no, major spoilers, right? But uh the another like thing I have to watch out for when I'm implementing the game for audio specifically is that when you export MP3s, Unity has the ability to loop them, right? The problem is that every single time you export, there's always like this extra little space at the end that shows up. And if you can see this little sequencer here, this area represents, so basically like this represents like how the music moves, the little white line that you see here. It's probably like really zoomed out. But when you export, this little empty area is always there because when the song ends, there's like an echo or like a little fadeaway. And that's just an automatic process when you process these sounds. So what you do is you export it and then you re-export it again without that echo. The problem is when you put it on Unity, there is a option. Actually, you might even see it here. This is like super, super minor. But let me like show this off. 'Cause I feel like I'm insane for talking about this because like there's literally hardware, or it's called midware. Midware is what's responsible for letting you not have the issue that I'm describing. But midware is literally like another software. It's what interacts between the audio and the game engine in this case, right? But like if you look at this little like it's super right, it's super like zoomed out here, but the orange line, right? That's like the audio, that stuff. But then in this like box, you see how there's like that little gray line at the edge right here. That's the part of the song that gets quiet. In other words, that's this part right here. So when I play the song, right? this part is the empty, right? So when I export and everything, ideally, I take this off. I kind of like I match it to where it has to be, which would be, and it would be like it would be right here, right? But technically, every time it exports, it's always like this, so it would look like this. So you're gonna hear like a pause and then the loop, and that little pause, you can't remove that until you use like midware stuff. So if anyone knows how to use midware for Unity, that'd be hype. Because I imagine you're playing the final boss and then like, hey, did you hear that little mute and everything? And actually, what's so funny about this is that back in the day, for example, Spyro is a game that did this perfectly. But when you played a song for a long time, the song would like fade away its volume, and then when it looped, it would re-enter carefully. So it'd be like this. Then it would loop, and then slowly it would do. And that's some 1990s tech, That's like they were smoking, bro. They were super smart for doing that because back then they didn't have middleware, right? So we're here in 2024, and it's like I am I a certified programmer because I don't know middleware, or like am I not an official developer? Like I don't know. We'll find out. Um, but actually, so this is like quick preview of like the actual song. Uh, it's probably glitchy. Oh, we're frying the computer with this one, boys. So yeah, it's gonna loop perfectly fine here in this software, right? Fruity Loops, because that's literally what it does. But again, exporting has its issues and such. So yeah, like it's really interesting, right? Because it's like, hey, we got a perfectly normal fine version here, but then when we actually like put in the game, it's like, oh, that pause that you didn't want, yeah, we're gonna add it, and it's like I didn't say anything pause worthy, right? Um, what else? So yeah, I mean, these are kind of all the themes that I have at the moment. There's this one song that I made that I really like, right? And so it's a reference. It's like a super hyper because it's like technically it's supposed to be like a secret boss battle theme and everything. The funny part about that is that so I made this like really cool boss theme for Another Chance. I love it. I thought it was amazing. It was fun. A lot of people said it was like a good song. So I made a remix of that, and then I made a remix of the remix, and then I made a remix of the remix of the remix, right? And every time I play it, it fries my computer. It just straight up fries my computer. And I know for a fact if I put it on the stream, it's gonna like I'll even put the volume a little higher and everything just for the music here. But like this literally like wow, I can't even load it. Like I just clicked the I just clicked FL Studio and I can't load it unless okay there still loading. But one, if you have Unity open in any capacity, like right now where I have two Unities open, right? This song just blows up my computer. And like I said, there's this little line on the top. It looks like a squiggly line. That's like the representation of the RAM that you're using. So when I play it, it goes red, it maxes out, it fries everything, right? But basically, it's two songs combined into one. So this is like how the first part sounds. Yeah, hopefully, it doesn't fry my computer, right? that's all it does, right? And then the second part is this like it's supposed to be like a chill version of it, but the funny part is the second part is it's the third remix of the same song that I had, and this is how it sounds like. So then the full song is literally just looping the two pieces that you heard over and over and over and over and over, which has this really unique harmony, right? The problem is, and you probably heard it right now at the end, the computer was bleeding. The little line went red. It was screaming like if I touch my computer right now, yeah, like that's a campfire. That's that's fun, right? So if I blow up here, my bad. Rest in peace, y'all. But this is how it sounds like together. Yeah, it just like red. But if I do fast forward, I probably have the MP3 here. Yeah, it should be this. Technically that works. Okay, so maybe the quality of the audio is better, but let's try that one more time. Yeah, but that's empty, right? Also, yeah, so song ends here, and then look at all this like extra minute. That's the export problem. So you have to cut that off manually and everything. Let me see again if I can. I thought there was another version where it was like more full and it had like everything. So fast forward. I can't spell forward. Should be this one if I'm not mistaken. That's quite literally all it is. So that's kind of like the gist of it. It's just this thing that I don't know if you guys heard that. Wait a minute. Anyway, let's assume. Did you guys hear that? I don't know. We'll see. Uh, press one in the chat if you heard it. Press two if you can hear nothing. I don't know. Anyway, point is, yeah. So like music, right? Pretty important everywhere in the games. Very underrated, and it's kind of I don't want to say it's foolish to invest in music because it genuinely like elevates the entire game feel and experience. The thing is that if you're going into designing an entire game based off of the premise of this music and soundtrack is really good, therefore it should be a good game, not necessarily true. And I have a lot of strong opinions with a couple of games that they have like easily the greatest soundtrack of all time, but gameplay and everything else is kind of like really bad, right? I'm looking at you, Sonic 06, and it's like really ridiculous how there's like a lot of effort that goes into this, but what really carries the entire procedure or like how the game is perceived is the actual gameplay. That's why it's so important to have a focus on that first, right? So I can tell you all about these songs. I can tell you about all of the work that I did here. How I have this wonderful remixer, right? Her name is Nicole Ramos, also known as Pun Pun Arts. She helps me remix a lot of songs every now and then, and like she's absolutely talented in what she does. And for me to say, hey, like let's keep working on this, but then like how does that end up getting perceived, relative to the game, truly comes down to like if the game gets carried. So like it's rough, right? Because like there are some songs that I think are pretty hype, right? But then how would you be able to hear that if you're not even interested in the game? So once again, that's why it's super important to have that running. And you guys probably already saw this, but here's like a private playlist, right? And we have this whole Prototype album called Prototype OST. Where literally we have 60 plus songs of just like, songs that will be played in Another Chance in this case, right? So quick examples, right? Where is so the battle theme? Then I'm gonna show you the boss theme that we originally made from the remix. And then we even have like a whole finale super orchestra like this one like honestly like if I don't know if Nicole's in the chat, but like if she was here, like I'm telling you, this is like her masterpiece, bro. Like let me get to this part real quick. Yeah, that's kind of just like what we do when it comes to music, and definitely really important stuff and everything, but genuinely comes down to the point where it's like, hey, we gotta, deal with this. And yeah, so you know what? I think, this has been like a little test stream and everything. I'm probably gonna be wrapping up here momentarily. So I think what I can do is kind of put like a to-do list objective because I kind of just went everywhere, and it is what it is at that point. Um, yeah, so yeah, we can definitely do that. Just 1 second here. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing. Hold on. One more time, testing. Yeah, okay, my bad. So, yeah, looked like we are having some audio issues with the songs and everything, but that's fine, that's fine. Anyway, yeah, so this was probably like a good test stream and everything. I can see how, YouTube works, and pretty happy about that. I just want to see that we have some. I like the analytics part. That's really cool. I can see what's going on. W for Marcel in the chat. And okay, cool. So yeah, I think I'll just wrap it up here and everything. It's getting pretty late, and I just want to, show off a little bit of things here and there. But yeah, definitely, like I said, going forward, I definitely think having like a little to-do list of the exact objectives that should be done, because I was talking about object pooling and some billboard effects that I really want to work on and everything. So I'll definitely do that. Maybe I gotta find a way how to use the poll method, right? Because like having chat on screen would be also pretty hyped to see how that works. But yeah, so that's basically DodgeKing Deluxe. This is what we're looking at. It's a little bare bones at the moment. That's totally fine. We're just trying to get as much as done as possible here at the moment. So I'll go ahead and do one more like quick rundown of like, you know, what we currently have with the menus, characters, basic gameplay, and everything. And then I'll probably just wrap it up. So let's go ahead and just do this brief play one more time. I want to make sure the audio is working too, because it looks like I had some issues with that. All right, let's give it a shot. Yeah, pretty bare bones right now, but that's what we have right now. So also, I think yeah, another funny thing is right now the menus and pretty much everything that we've been looking at right now is still present. I haven't found a proper way to disable that, so I gotta actually fix that. But you know, a little out of bounds stuff. Also have this playtester who always goes out of bounds. So I'm looking at you, genre, trying to see when he tries to break the game over and over and over again. But I think I'm dashing. No, I'm not. I'm not. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and I'm going really fast apparently, but that's just a big canvas here. Also, dashing disables you from jumping. And like I said, every little hop that you do literally allows you to skip a bullet. So if you like, if a bullet's on the way, you can literally jump over it and you're set. But if you dash, you don't really have protection for that. Also, yeah, you could barely hear it at the end, but that was the little pause right before the loop happens. But it happens, so it is what it is. Yeah, so I think I'll just be wrapping up the stream, and then before I do, I just want to see if I can do a little thing, right, where it's like I go to the DodgeKing folder, I can make a new folder called the object pooling folder, right? So I'll just do object pooling. Then I'll make another folder here just to say import mode. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to be importing the object pooling system from one mode to another. So in here, I'm going to open up and go to show and explore, and I have the little file explorer page here. And then this is where my object pooling came from. So if I could just copy these and then paste it here, it'll show up on my hierarchy, on my project folder here. The only problem is I'm probably compiling some errors. As you can see, yep, so I got some errors. And it's basically because weapon action does not exist at the moment. So if I go into object pooling, yeah, the weapon engine action is a script that's exclusive to another chance. So what I could literally do is just delete this it recompiles the game, and then no errors, right? What I do need to look at is the special effects pooling. I think that's identical to what I was talking about with the objects, with the weapons, but it's just more for like literally uh, visual special effects like stars, crashes, bumps, dust particles. So I will be, yeah. So yeah, it's actually the same now that I'm briefly looking at it. In fact, we can compare that by looking at this compare window, and if we go here, see here we have object pooling. They even have the same state name, WOP, for weapons object pooling, so literally identical. The only thing is I just switched some of the names because we have SF tag, sound effects tag, or special effects tag, and then weapon tag. Yeah, they're the same. So I can just investigate how the special effects tag looks and then start copying and pasting that to fulfill the needs of the projectiles that we'll be working on and everything. So then that's what we have here. Uh, yeah, and so if that is done correctly, then I essentially just have the object pooling system ready. It's just a matter of optimizing it, making sure that we're set, and then we can start prototyping some basic gameplay here. So yeah, for this test stream, I think this went pretty okay. I guess. I mean, I don't really know. So logistically, we had two members looking at us the entire time, so that was pretty hype. We had Marcel in the chat saying too. I super much appreciate that. Marcel is like my best friend. I love him. He's super cool and everything. He's great with what he does, and he's always giving me cool practical advice. So very happy to see that he was here for some time. So thank you for doing that, Marcel. Honestly. Um, and then stream was how long? Uh, an hour, 2 hours? I don't know where that data is. Oh wait, it's probably here. We've been streaming for an hour and 17 minutes. Okay, cool. So I think that was great. Yeah, I guess I just I just yapped about, hey, this is how the game looks like. This is what we're doing. This is the plan. So I think that's fine. Um, the only productive thing we actually did was move the object pooling, which obviously that could have been done in like 2 seconds, whatever. But also, I think like I'd like to get more comfortable on just talking about my procedures, how I do this, and just interacting with chat here. So let's see how that works. And yeah, I think we can conclude it here. So for anyone watching, thanks for being here. Thanks for, just popping in. And yeah, hopefully I can continue this little series here where we can get DodgeKing rolling. We can document that process and everything. And I think it's cheesy when YouTubers say, "Hey guys, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell notification icon, do the comment thing, like share the video, do everything." So yeah, I want you guys to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, comment, share this video with your friends. But part of the process here. But yeah, so for I think we should end it here. So thanks for stopping by.